Amphibia is one of the best shows that I've seen in a really long time, I'm not gonna lie to you. And I just really wanted to talk about this specific episode that dropped yesterday because, oh my god, this is literally one of the best ones in the entire series right after the season 1 and 2 finale. This is just such a cornucopia of amazing reveals and so many questions set up. It just gets me incredibly intrigued on what exactly is going to happen in the coming episodes. There's not that much left before the show ends on May 14th, so I mean, what's gonna happen? I have no idea, but I'm really excited and I just really want to get into this episode. Basically, I'm going to be pushing this Amphibia agenda until the show ends because, oh my god, the show is amazing. Please watch it. You're missing out. Hopefully, you enjoy this type of content while I ramble about how good this show is and just gush about all the amazing things that happen in this episode and the show in general. So, yeah, hope you enjoy. So I'm going to do a bit of a rapid fire thing talking about all the amazing stuff that they revealed this episode, and oh my god, it was a lot. Firstly, we get to see that the frog who is on the jar is Andrias' friend in the painting, is actually a planter. Oh my god, yes. Leaf, the frog's name, is doing the same exact dance that Sprig did in that one episode where they had to hunt. And then later on, Leaf also confirms that they are a gardener, leading to them being farmers, obviously. Really awesome. We might get more about Leaf in a flashback of her going to see the Olms, which would be really cool. But I just want to see more of them. I'm really glad that they're like cool, enjoyable characters. Next, we get to see that line that's been teased ever since the season trailer. Isn't it about time you've abandoned those little childhood friends of yours? Is actually not from Andrias, but Andrias' father talking to Andrias. Oh my god. Yes, this is such a great way of using this line in a total recontextualization because it sounds just like Andrias, at least I thought it did in the trailer, but this confirmation just feels so good. I don't know. I really enjoyed this moment, and it was probably my favorite reveal of the entire episode. I would say that until we get this amazing moment with Leaf touching the Calamity Box, which has her have this whole like future sight thing of how Amphibia is going to be destroyed, and it was unreal. And my favorite part about this is that it shows the moon crashing into Amphibia. Now, ever since season 1, I started noticing that the moon is really weird. The moon was always a red crescent moon, and I was like, something's off here. And I literally asked my friend who I was watching with, hey, is this like a thing? Is this just a normal thing? And when Sasha first appeared in the series, the moon was actually different. It was this massive, full red moon. And I'm like, the moon is symbolism. The moon is symbolism. Ever since season 1. And seeing that the moon is having this huge importance, seemingly, introduced right now, right at the end, with the color red still associated with it, I'm very curious to see how this plotline and sort of element is going to play out into the story going on, because oh my god, the core is now talking and like a main character in this episode, and I really like it. I'm so glad that the core was not just some like maniacal, like just villain in general. It felt like the core had like some weird like quirks to it, which I actually explained really well, with the quirk having some of Marcy's personality imposed onto it because Marcy is the host of the core. And I thought that's so cool. And my favorite thing personally is that the core has this really long cord on the back of the helmet, right? And Marcy's main quirk obviously is being super clumsy and terrible. So I'm like, oh my god, Marcy's totally gonna trip on the wire in like the finale or something, and it's gonna be this amazing reveal, like, oh my god, she's free because she did something only she could do, essentially. But then they literally play that off like seconds later, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, really cool, but it's a shame. I thought that would have been a really sick reveal. However, I totally think that Marcy is still going to be really important to the core's downfall, because obviously she has that strong connection with Anne and Sasha, who are going to fight till the end of the earth to protect her. So I'm very excited to see how we can get more of Marcy to sort of get out of the core. One thing that they showed at the end of the episode, which was really cool, was that the core gets these kind of system updates, which had me very intrigued, because it seems like the core is totally offline for these moments, and Andrias is able to just possibly stop it at any time, yet he chooses not to because of this sort of indebted nature that he feels to this, like, I have to do this, I have to save the kingdom, stuff like that. And it showed in the amphibian text, memory wipe in progress. So the core is trying to get rid of Marcy entirely. However, I think Marcy is such a strong mind, obviously because she is the mind gem. I think it's really cool that she is still like this prevailing thing inside the core, and they're trying to remove her. Very menacing, and I want to see more about this very soon. Another thing I really liked about this episode was Andrias' father, who was this very, very menacing. It reminded me a lot of Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars because he's very old, very wrinkly, and he has that connection with evil. So it gave me that sort of energy. And personally, something I really, really liked about him was he was literally about to go into the core the second Andrias was going to become the king, which was really soon at the point of this flashback. So very, very exciting stuff about that. Personally, I wish we could have seen him go into the core. That would have been crazy, but I think they're saving that maybe for later. Another thing that I really wanted to talk about is the entire idea of the core being Andrias's guilt. In an episode where the core was first introduced, that the statue right above the door to the basement and the core was of Andrias' father. I think that this looming guilt has been present for so long because Andrias has been alive for hundreds and hundreds of years. It must have been building up more and more and more like, oh, I have to do this. I have to do this, especially so because of the insane reveal that there already was knowledge that the box would return to Amphibia. I thought that was really, really fascinating. And the dad is essentially putting this thing like, you have to fix it because it'll return eventually, but it's up to you if you can even fix it or not. Genuinely really, really cool. And it makes it seem so much more interesting that Andrias has been aware of this prophecy the whole time. So when you go back to some episodes and you see him say stuff like the prophecy is being undone, is the prophecy being undone the Ulm prophecy about the people who are going to take down Amphibia, or is the prophecy being that the box will return in general? Not entirely sure. Personally, I think it's the Ulm prophecy because the Ulm prophecy is about them destroying and saving Amphibia, while this prophecy is just about the box returning in general. Probably the biggest amazing reveal in the whole episode is Leif leaving and being deemed as this traitor is what caused the entire racial distinction of Amphibia to happen. This was absolutely an insane reveal, and it made it feel so wild because at the start of this whole episode, I'm thinking to myself, wait, there are just toads and newts just talking together in Utopia. This is really, really strange. Seeing that Leif is deemed as traitor, all frogs are being punished for Leif's betrayal. So frogs are now deemed as the lowest class in this world, and then toads are deemed as the subservient class, which is just how the position worked. Andrias was in charge, he was the king. Essentially, the toads were almost like an object used by the Utopians in order to assert their rule, which has been what they have been throughout the entire story, with stuff like Toad Tax and all the Toad Towers trying to monitor and submerge the frogs into more and more suppression. Honestly, really, really crazy stuff. That was a nuts reveal, at least for me, and I'm just really, really just amazed that Andrias' influence has caused this whole world to fall into ruin. The last thing I really want to discuss is the idea of the core thinking that Andrias is going to redeem himself. Is Andrias' redemption arc redeeming the core and redeeming Utopia to this place of conquest? Or is Andrias redeeming himself, meaning literally himself, like being this innocent young kid who had fun and friends that he was 1,000 years ago? Is this his true redemption? Him finally realizing that I don't need the core, I'm going to do something I want to do. Personally, I would love the Andrias redemption arc. Maybe he would get some premonitions back to that time when he sees the toads and frogs working together against him. But yeah, that's really it for me. I basically talked about everything in the episode that I thought was really, 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 really cool, because there's a lot of things that are really cool. So let me know what you thought was the best thing in this episode, because genuinely, there's a lot. So I'm really curious to see what you think. Honestly, this episode was probably one of my favorites in the whole series. Like I said, obviously season 1 and 2's finales were unreal, but this episode I felt was definitely top 5 in the whole series contender, and I cannot wait to see what comes next. I'm really excited. If you enjoy this type of stuff, please consider supporting the channel. I definitely want to talk about this show and a bunch of other cartoons more. I gotta push this agenda, honestly, because oh my god, some of these shows are some of the best things I've ever seen, and talking about them is awesome. So if you consider supporting the channel, that would mean a lot. And please watch Amphibia. Oh my god.